Hi friends, today we'll be talking about chapter 1 of Anatomy and Physiology. So, what are the topics that we'll be covering in this particular chapter? Overview of anatomy of the human body, anatomical terms, abdominal pelvic regions and quadrants, movements, the cell, structure and its functions, body tissues, membranes, glands, types of cartilage, feature of skeletal, smooth and cardiac muscles. So let's start off with an overview of the anatomy of the human body. The human body consists of the head, the neck, the trunk, the thorax, abdomen, arms and the legs. It is studied by physicians and clinicians all over the world in the medical field to help in their research and in their practice. The basic unit of the human body are cells. Multiple cells come together to form tissues, and multiple tissues together form an organ. Many organs together form systems. These systems come together to help in homeostasis of the body. That means a regular state of internal chemical and physical conditions which helps to maintain the viability of the body. Now let's move on to the skeleton. The skeleton is the bony framework which provides a shape to the body. The skeleton forms fossae and cavities, which are hollows and depressions, which help to encase the organs inside and protect them, while also providing connections between muscles and forming of joints. As you can see in this slide, the various systems of the body are the skeletal system, which consists of the bones, the muscular system, which consists of the muscles, the circulatory system, which consists of arteries and veins, the digestive system, the urinary system, the nervous system, which consists of the brain, spinal cord, and the nerves, the reproductive system, the lymphatic system, the endocrine system, and the respiratory system, which consists of the lungs. The human body consists of 100 trillion cells, 206 bones, 320 pairs of muscles, and 5 vital organs. The human body is a remarkable biological machine which consists of various systems which come together to provide life, cognition, movement, function, growth, and reproduction. The largest bone in the body is the thigh bone or the femur, and the smallest bones in the body are the ossicles in the middle ear. The human skeleton provides the body with structure and support. It consists of two main types of connective tissue, that is the bones and the cartilage. Now we're going to talk about the different parts of the skeleton. First of all, you need to understand that the skeleton is split into two major parts, that is the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. The appendages are basically the limbs which are attached to the axial skeleton. The axial skeleton is that part of the skeleton which consists of the head, the neck, the vertebrae of the spine, and the bones of the trunk. The axial skeleton is made up of 86 bones and consists of 6 parts. These parts are the skull, the ossicles of the middle ear, the rib cage, the hyoid bone, the sternum, and the vertebral column. Basically, axial means the center of the body. All these axial skeleton bones comprise of the central part of the skeleton. If you further divide the axial skeleton into its individual bones, the skull consists of 22 bones, from which 8 are cranial and 14 are facial. After that, you have 6 middle ear ossicle bones, that is 3 in each ear. These are the smallest bones in the body. You have 1 hyoid bone in the neck, 26 bones in the vertebral column, 1 breastbone or the sternum, and 24 ribs or 12 pairs of ribs. Now let's move on to the skull. The skull consists of 2 main parts. One is the cranium, which is the home of the brain, and the next is the facial part of the skull. The skull consists of many different bones which develop separately, but with time they mature and they merge together. The only movable bone in the skull is the mandible, which moves up and down and helps us to eat. The facial part of the skull consists of 14 bones. They are 2 inferior turbinates, 2 lacrimal bones, the 1 mandible, 2 maxillae, 2 nasal bones, 2 palatine bones, 1 vomer bone, and 2 zygomatic bones. The cranium comprises of 8 bones. These are the occipital bone, the 2 temporal bones, 2 parietal bones, 1 sphenoid bone, 1 ethmoid bone, and the frontal bone. Now let's talk a little bit in detail about the middle ear bones, the 3 ear ossicles. These are the smallest bones in the body and consist of the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. The job of these ear ossicles is to amplify the vibrations which come from the tympanic membrane or the eardrum and transmit these vibrations to the cochlea where it is picked up as sounds. These 3 bones, that is the malleus, incus, and the stapes, are the only bones in the human body which do not grow after birth, and therefore they are the smallest bones in the body. The hyoid bone is also known as the lingual bone or the tongue bone. It is a horseshoe-shaped bone which lies in the front of the neck in between the chin and the thyroid cartilage. Let's move on to the vertebral column, that is the bones of the spine. The vertebral column consists of 24 movable bones called the vertebrae. Each vertebral bone is separated from each other by something known as an intervertebral disc, which consists of cartilage. The vertebral column has 5 parts, and the bones of each piece are numbered from top to bottom. These are the 7 cervical vertebrae, 12 thoracic vertebrae, 5 lumbar vertebrae, the 1 sacrum, which consists of 5 fused bones, and the 1 coccyx, which consists of 4 fused bones. The first cervical vertebra is also called the atlas, and it articulates or forms a joint with the skull above. Later, each vertebra forms a joint with the vertebra below and allows free movement, which is slightly more in the cervical and the lumbar regions rather than the thoracic region. The sacrum consists of 5 different vertebrae which are fused together, and it articulates with the 5th lumbar vertebra above, the coccyx below, and the 2 hip bones or the pelvic bones on the sides. The coccyx consists of 4 separate vertebrae which are fused together to form a triangular shaped bone, and this articulates with the sacrum above. The vertebral column basically has 3 major functions. 1. It helps to protect the spinal cord. 2. It protects the spinal nerves which come out as branches from the spinal cord. And 3. It allows an articulation or joints for the rib cage and helps in breathing. Now let's move on to the thoracic cage. The thoracic cage is formed by the following bones: 12 thoracic vertebrae, 12 pairs of ribs, and 1 sternum or breastbone in the front. What are the major functions of the thoracic cage? The most important function of the thoracic cage is that it protects the major organs of the body, that is the lungs, the heart, and the major blood vessels. The second function of the thoracic cage is that it forms a connection between the axial skeleton and the upper limbs through the clavicle bones or the collar bones. The third function of the thoracic cage is that it forms the connection for the respiratory muscles, that is the muscles which are required for breathing. The intercostal muscles are the muscles which lie in the spaces in between the ribs. Inter means in between and costal means ribs. These muscles are basically the respiratory muscles. When these muscles contract or when they come close together, the ribs move outwards and upwards, therefore increasing the size of the thoracic cavity and causing inhalation of air. The thoracic cavity consists of the following boundaries. Inferiorly or below, it's a dome-shaped muscle and the diaphragm. Superiorly or above, the boundaries are the parts forming the root of the neck. Laterally or on the sides, the intercostal muscles and 12 pairs of ribs. Anteriorly or in the front, the costal cartilages of the ribs and the sternum. Posteriorly or behind, the boundaries are the thoracic vertebrae. Now that we've finished talking about the axial skeleton, let's move on to the appendicular skeleton. The appendicular skeleton consists of the shoulder girdle and the upper limbs, and the pelvic girdle and the lower limbs. Each shoulder girdle consists of a clavicle or the collarbone and the scapula or the wing bone. Each upper limb comprises of 1 humerus bone, 1 radius, 1 ulna, 8 carpal bones in the wrist, 5 metacarpal bones, and 14 phalanges in the hand. The bones of the pelvic girdle are the 2 inanimate bones and the sacrum. Then when you go on to the lower limb, each lower limb consists of 1 femur or thigh bone and 1 tibia, the leg bone, 1 fibula, 1 patella or the kneecap, 7 tarsal bones, 5 metatarsal bones, and 14 phalanges in the feet. The 2 major functions of the appendicular skeleton are voluntary movement and protection of the delicate structures. The first function, that is voluntary movement, the bones, muscles, and the joints together are responsible for the movement of the body. This includes fine movements like writing and drawing, and also coordinated movements of the limbs which are required for running, jumping, and dancing. The second function of the appendicular skeleton is protection of delicate structures. Important nerves and vessels lie along the length of the arms and the legs, and these are protected by the muscles and the skin surrounding them. Now let's move on to a very important topic, that is the cavities of the body. The body consists of many important organs which lie within 4 main cavities. These are the cranial cavity, the thoracic cavity, the abdominal cavity, and the pelvic cavity. So let's start off with the cranial cavity first. The cranial cavity contains the brain, and its boundaries are formed by the bones of the skull. Anteriorly you have 1 frontal bone, laterally you have 2 temporal bones, posteriorly you have 1 occipital bone, superiorly you have 2 parietal bones, and inferiorly you have 1 sphenoid bone, and you also have 1 ethmoid bone and parts of the frontal, temporal, and occipital bones. Let's move on to the contents of the thoracic cavity. This contains some of the most important organs of the body. The main organs and structures contained in the thoracic cavity include the trachea, the two bronchi, the two lungs, the heart, the aorta, superior and inferior vena cava, numerous other blood vessels, the esophagus, lymph vessels and lymph nodes, some important nerves, and the mediastinum, which is the name given to the space between the lungs, which includes the structures found there, such as the heart, the esophagus, and the blood vessels. Let's move on to the contents of the third cavity, that is the abdominal cavity. The contents of the abdominal cavity are the stomach, the small intestine, including the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum, most part of the large intestine, the liver, the gallbladder, bile ducts and pancreas, the spleen, the two kidneys, the upper part of the ureters, the two adrenal glands, numerous blood vessels, numerous lymph vessels, and the lymph nodes. The fourth and final cavity of the body is the pelvic cavity. The pelvic cavity is roughly funnel shaped and extends from the lower end of the abdominal cavity downwards. The boundaries of the pelvic cavity are: superiorly, it is continuous with the abdominal cavity; inferiorly, the muscles of the pelvic floor; anteriorly, the pubic bones; posteriorly, the sacrum and the coccyx; and laterally, the inanimate bones of the pelvis. The contents of the pelvic cavity are the sigmoid colon, the rectum, the anus, some loops of the large intestine, the urinary bladder, lower parts of the ureters, and the urethra. In the female, you have the organs of the female reproductive system, like the uterus, the uterine tubes or the fallopian tubes, the ovaries, and the vagina. In the male, some of the organs of the reproductive system are also present in the pelvic cavity. These are the prostate gland, the seminal vesicles, the spermatic cords, the vas deferens, the ejaculatory ducts, and the urethra. So, as we come to a close of chapter 1, Anatomy and Physiology, these are the following questions that you can expect. First of all, the long questions. Define anatomy. Describe the anatomical position planes with examples. Explain the movements of the body at the joints with examples. The next question you can get as a long question is, define homeostasis. What are the regulatory mechanisms, and explain with the help of examples. Some short answer questions you can get are anatomical terms and negative feedback mechanism.